Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Packers Unscripted from Packers.com. I am Mike Spofford, joined by my partner in everything Packers, Wes Hodkiewicz. We're coming to you here from our studios at Lambeau Field to preview. Wes, it is here. It is Packers-Bears. It will be Sunday at 3:25 p.m. Central Time at Lambeau Field. First place in the NFC North on the line. Packers-Bears in December with high stakes for both clubs. It doesn't get much better than this.
No, it doesn't. And, I'm still going to stay with my original contention. I'm not a huge fan of how this laid out. I really wish the Packers and Bears would have at least played once already.
I agree.
It felt like it was way too delayed. Now, mind you, the NFL absolutely is in love with this. We just learned that this game in Week 16 at Soldier Field will now be at 7:20 p.m. prime time on December 20th, Saturday, December 20th. And they are just licking their chops at how this thing has worked out here towards the end of the season.
No doubt.
Now, all that being said, after I have to put down those conditions, this is extremely exciting. And you and I were kind of spitballing back and forth this past week. I was trying to find a more consequential game that has been played between the Packers and Bears at Lambeau Field. Certainly, there was the NFC Championship at Soldier Field. There was the 2013 finale at Soldier Field. There's been times, as you outlined, where the Packers clinched big playoff spots, the Bears clinched big playoff spots, but they both weren't like quote-unquote good at the same time.
Right.
The Bears have taken everybody by surprise to be 9-3 and sitting atop the NFC right now. Green Bay has clawed itself back into this thing at 8-3-1. And most importantly, the stakes could not be higher. If you win this game, you're kind of in the driver's seat in not only the NFC North, but the entire conference. If you lose, now you're looking at that 6-7 spot in the playoff race. These guys are going to be rip-roaring ready to go.
Yeah, that's the thing with this. The Packers are in a good spot. They've won 3 in a row. Some of those the doldrums from earlier in November when the offense was sputtering and things weren't going well. Packers seem to have put that behind them. Obviously, the win at Detroit, huge division win on Thanksgiving Day. But this Bears team is going to be coming into Lambeau Field as confident as all get out. Like and we're going to talk about the secrets to their success, 2 of the biggest ones being the takeaways on defense and the running game on offense. But if you really want to know the biggest reason the Bears are 9-3, it's because of the way they've pulled games out late. I mean, you go through their schedule. The Raiders, the Commanders, the Bengals, the Giants, and the Vikings. The Bears won all of those games, essentially in the final minute, if not the final play of the game. All of those games could have gone the other way, but they won all 5 of them, and that is why they are 9-3. If you are going to beat the Bears, you can't just beat them for 58 minutes, for 59 and a half minutes. You have to play the whole 60 minutes, because if there's any time, this season has shown, if the Bears have any time left on the clock, they might be able to find a way to beat you.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Green Bay and Chicago in this matchup, it's 2 of the best teams in terms of how they've finished games this season, how they've been able to sort of, pull victory from the jaws of defeat, so to speak. I think the Bears have done it even in more dramatic fashion when you look at how some of these games that the opponents they were facing, they've been kind of riding the lightning there a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout the course of this thing. But that being said, I think it probably speaks to Ben Johnson. And, he was a guy that was a huge prospect in the coaching realm. Probably could have had a job 2 years ago if he wanted one.
No doubt.
Decided to stick around one more year in Detroit and really sort of saw the landscape for what it was before deciding that the Chicago Bears were the team that he wanted to take charge of. And everybody knows the offensive innovation and ingenuity that he displayed with the Lions. He's done that with the Bears, but I think he's also proven to be the head coach that this particular Chicago team required. And for the first time, I don't want to get too hyperbolic about it, but I mean the first time really since I think Mike Ditka, they have a head coach who has a swagger, a character, almost like a gimmick to him. In Ben Johnson. The guy's ripping his shirt off in the locker room and how his players are responding to that. Bears have won 9 of 10 going into this thing. They're feeling really good about themselves.
Yeah, they won 9 out of 10 after the 0-2 start. It's interesting that you go back to Ditka in terms of that character thing, because Bears had a lot of success under Lovie Smith, but Lovie Smith was not some sort of charismatic head coach. He was just a very
cerebral,
even-keeled from that, Tony Dungy, type of approach to coaching in the NFL. With Johnson, it's been, quite frankly, it's been a culture change completely. You don't win as many close games as the Bears have won without changing the culture. They were in a ton of close games with Matt Eberflus as the head coach, and they couldn't win them. And Johnson is the guy who has changed the culture. One thing that hasn't really changed about the Bears, though, is that they have a defense that is predicated on taking the football away. That seems to be the case regardless, and Dennis Allen has come in as Ben Johnson's defensive coordinator, and he's coordinating a Dennis Allen type defense that goes after the ball. They lead the league with 26 takeaways, including a league-leading 17 interceptions. So there's 9 fumble recoveries to go with it. They have forced 14 fumbles, so there have been even more takeaway opportunities out there. And here's the thing, Wes. 25 of their 26 takeaways have come in their 9 wins.
Yeah.
In their 3 losses, they have only 1 takeaway. If there's a game to protect the football, if there's an opponent from whom to protect the football, it's this.
It is, Mike, but it's so much easier said than done.
No doubt.
I've watched a lot of Bears football the last few weeks, just based on how the schedule is sort of aligned and having some opportunities to see some Sunday action, obviously the Black Friday game against Philadelphia. And it's one thing to look at a stat sheet and be like, wow, that's a lot of takeaways. And then you see the way that a guy like, Kevin Byard, the way he flies in that secondary, the interception he had of Jalen Hurts, who in most cases protects the ball very well.
Yep.
It is about not just being opportunistic, but finding those moments and seizing them. And I even commented in Insider Inbox, which you had to edit. Byard, I think, is really one of the most underrated safeties in this league. And as much as gets made out of Mike Vrabel left Tennessee and, they let Derrick Henry walk, nobody talks about the fact that they let Byard out the door 2 years ago.
Yep.
And that Tennessee defense hasn't been the same since he left. And,
right.
You look at, Ryan Pace and what he's been building in Chicago and some of the acquisitions, it's been hit or miss on some of the draft picks, but some of the signings that he's have been really savvy. It reminds me a lot of what Brian Gutekunst did in those early years where you only have so many picks. You have to find guys that are going to fit the rest of your team. Byard's done that. And obviously the trade for Montez Sweat, he's leading them in sacks this season. The one thing I'll say, and we'll get more into it with the keys to victory, but they've given up a lot of production too.
Yep.
That's the other side of this, both against the run and the pass. Teams have been able to move the ball against them. I've been nervous about using the analogy of the 2011 Packers because the Packers finished dead last in total yards that year. But Green Bay, by and large, was one of the biggest takeaway teams that season. That's what allowed them to get to 15-1.
Yep.
That's sort of where Chicago's been at, mixed with the fact that Caleb Williams, those running backs have protected the ball very well as well.
Yeah, and that's the other side of the turnover equation is the Bears have done a really good job protecting the ball, particularly Caleb Williams as a second-year quarterback, as a guy who took a lot of sacks as a rookie, put the ball in harm's way, too much, but yet somewhat understandable as a rookie. But now in his second year, he is protecting the ball a lot better, and he's got the greatest protection any quarterback could ask for in this running game. DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai. Now, Monangai did pop up on Chicago's injury report this week, so that will be something to watch. But that running back duo, they've combined so far this year now, Wes, for 1,365 yards and 10 touchdowns on the ground. And we all know they both topped 100 yards against the Eagles on Black Friday when the Bears rushed for 281 against Philadelphia. They came out and just punched the Eagles in the mouth with that ground game right at the beginning, and the Eagles just never had a response for slowing down those running backs, and they just kept going back and forth from one guy to the other and pounding away. But it's been impressive to me to watch, and sometimes it's culture, it can be coaching, all those things. Caleb Williams from year 1 to year 2, he just looks like he's in so much more command out there just in his second year as a quarterback.
For me, and I want to start with the running backs here because it was interesting when Johnson goes to Chicago. He built the same thing that Detroit built, right? Which coincidentally happened to be one of the former Bears running backs, in David Montgomery.
Right.
Now you have a former Lions running back that had a little bit of a pit stop in Philadelphia, and DeAndre Swift. That Swift has been a guy, Mike, since day one. I've always said, this guy, if he stays healthy, he's a difference maker.
Yep.
Keeping him healthy has been the issue.
Right.
But the fact that when he was down, Monangai, the 22nd running back taken in the draft, stepped up the way he did with a vastly improved offensive line this season, particularly on the interior. They've built their offense around those two guys, and that, in my opinion, has been what's allowed Caleb Williams to make that next step. Because he sees the field the way he sees it. He plays the quarterback position the way he plays it. There's certainly refinements that are going to happen there, but Caleb Williams, that you're not going to change his DNA. And it just seems like the complementary pieces are more intact this season with the Bears. Now, all that being said, Williams does have the lowest completed passing percentage of any NFL starting quarterback right now, meeting that metric for amount of passes attempt.
Right.
I look at Rome Odunze, who got off to just this incredible start to the season that's kind of slowed down here in the second half. My fantasy football team can speak to that. But they have weapons that can hit you and beat you in different ways. But when they need to get back to their bread and butter, it is those two backs. Running, pass catching, everything. And I feel like Green Bay in this matchup, that's where they got to get to.
Well, and Ben Johnson put his stamp on this offense right away in the offseason with the way they went about rebuilding their offensive line. They used trades and free agency to essentially rebuild the whole interior, the two guards in the center spot, all new guys. Their monster at right tackle, Darnell Wright, who was a first-round pick a few years back, is a guy who seems to be coming into his own. That offensive line that was the foundation of Ben Johnson's success, getting the running game going, the play-action pass to help your quarterback. He's doing the same thing in Chicago that he did in Detroit. The one thing I will say about Chicago's offensive line, as much improved as it is, Caleb Williams is under duress a lot. Yeah. He's been sacked only 19 times, which is not a bad number, but he scrambles around back there. He gets out of difficult spots. He is under pressure a lot, and that sack number is only 19, I think more because of Caleb Williams than the guys in front of him. That being said, he is a tough guy to catch. He's a tough guy to bring down. The Packers are going to have to be very disciplined in terms of their rush, but at the same time, this is one of those games, like I've talked about in other instances. You have to earn the right to rush the passer because the Bears will be content to live in 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 3 all day long with their running game. You have to get them into the 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 6 where they're going to have to turn to the pass.
And you can't overextend yourself. You can't rush past Williams because he's going to hurt you. This is a guy. What I love about Williams as a quarterback is he runs more than Jordan Love does, but I think their speed is somewhat comparable. But he doesn't look to run. It is that last-ditch sort of Aaron Rodgers, create-your-own-play sort of mindset.
Yeah.
And then also, his escapability when he is under duress is potentially the best in the National Football League. He is smooth in terms of how he's able to get past these guys that are bearing down on him. Now, that being said, if you can rush to contain and keep your integrity and your discipline, which is sometimes easier said than done.
Yeah.
I feel like there is a winning path there for teams. And one thing I noticed in that game against Philadelphia was he gave the Eagles secondary a lot of chances. They did not capitalize on it. There was a couple, but for the most part, there was guys not pulling down passes at the right time. There was, I think there was one where Odunze ended up slipping on the turf, and it was right there for the safety, but he couldn't catch it.
Yeah.
I'm seeing him attack the field a little bit more, and I'm curious to see this Packers defense that has been taking the ball away at a better clip here in the second half of the season, what they could possibly do with that. Because when you look at the 5 interceptions on the year, he is protecting the ball well. They've only lost 4 fumbles as a team, but is there an opportunity there to maybe get some momentum? Because as you said, getting back to the crux of your argument there, as much improvement as they've made with their offensive line, it seems to be more affecting their stretch run game and things of that nature than necessarily just the pass protection.
Yeah, I totally agree there. I do want to get into our keys to victory, but we'll pay some bills first and hear a word from our sponsors.
Sirius XM NFL Radio delivers hard-hitting analysis and up-to-the-minute NFL news that true football fanatics need 24/7, 365. At Cousin Subs, we have something for everyone, like our Wisconsin cheese curds, mac and cheese, golden fries, and creamy shakes, all paired with your favorite sub or sub in a bowl. Cousin Subs, 50-plus years of better. Pit Boss Grills, the official grill of Packers tailgating at Lambeau or at your house. Take your game day to the next level with a Pit Boss wood pellet grill. Pit Boss Grills available at Menards. Hey Packers fans, we always knew Lambeau Field was a wonder, but now it's official. Learn more about all the wonders of Wisconsin at travelwisconsin.com/wonders. Welcome back to Packers Unscripted. All right, Wes, keys to victory over the Bears. I'm going to start with this because it's the obvious one. It's protect the football because, as you alluded to, with regard to the Bears' defense, they are 25th in the league in points allowed. They are 26th in the league in yards allowed. This is not a stout defense that makes it difficult for you to move the ball. It's a defense that hunts the football and hunts for turnovers, and that is how they've been effective this year and helping their team win games. If you do not turn the ball over against this defense, you will have opportunities to score a lot of points.
Yeah, you will. And I think a lot of this is going to come down to Jordan Love. I mean, something's probably going to have to break in this one, right? Either it's going to be the Packers have been on the streak here of not having a turnover the last 3 games. Chicago, I'd be interested to even see how many times. I know you said that the differential with the games in which they've won where they've had a takeaway, how many times they just haven't even had one this season. I can't imagine it was very many.
I believe it's only twice.
Yeah, so for one of those two things, somebody's going to have to win that out. The unstoppable force, the immovable object. We'll see what prevails there. But I think this is really going to come down to Jordan Love. And I hate using this term because fans run away with it and they let their mind do crazy things with it. But managing the football game. It is going to be hecka cold outside on Sunday. I don't know if it's going to be as cold as it is right now in Green Bay. A nice 4 degrees, or Fahrenheit. Gosh, I won't even want to guess what it is Celsius. Probably like negative 12. But the fact is that Green Bay has to be able to manage this game. They have to be able to move the chains, protect the football, and allow your running game to be the better unit. If there's big plays to be had, absolutely, you have to take them through the air. And hopefully the Packers will have some reinforcements with some of their receivers here going into this one. But all that being said, I mean, if you play into what the Bears want to do, which is take the football away and execute and generate offense and points off of your mistakes, it is going to be a long late afternoon, early evening at Lambeau Field.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears, I wrote this in Insider Inbox earlier in the week. The Bears want you to force the ball. They want you to take a chance. That is how this opportunistic defense gets its hands on the football and makes those momentum-changing type of plays. This is, for all the talk about Chicago's running game, and it's been dynamite, the Bears' run defense is 28th in the league.
Right.
You can, as you talk about managing the game, you have some control in this game against the Bears' defense if you can run the football, put yourself in good situations, don't fall into their trap of trying to force it, of trying to make something happen that's not there. And I agree with you. A lot of this comes down to Jordan Love, not only in terms of taking care of the ball, but in terms of, the checks he makes at the line of scrimmage and how he sees what the Bears are doing and trying to get the Packers into the best possible play offensively. My whole point in Insider Inbox is this is a game that will test the Packers' discipline in so many ways, and it comes down to the offensive discipline of not forcing it, but then also the defensive discipline of staying in your gaps against the run, of keeping the pass rush lane integrity on Caleb Williams so he doesn't get out and run on you. Every aspect you look at this game of how to beat the Chicago Bears comes down to the word discipline.
And I love that you brought up the discipline piece because here's the thing. Let's be honest, Mike. Ben Johnson probably has a game plan that he devised for this first matchup against Green Bay. He is going to look to...
He probably devised it back in May.
Exactly. This is a guy with the way that he's wired, you have to be prepared for everything. Because as we've seen from him time and time again, they saw it for years with the Lions, against the Packers and against other teams within the division. He is always looking to stunt on the opposition. Heck, it's probably partially why he got the job with the Bears, right? The fake fumble play that he ran against Chicago, right?
Yep.
So you have to be prepared for everything, and that goes back to your rules, your fundamentals, your technique, and being sound. What I love about that from Green Bay's perspective is, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, this is a unit that is not only just dominating at times, and certainly we saw that stat from Elias Sportsbeer, the 4 yards that they allowed in the second half against Minnesota, the fewest that Green Bay's defense has allowed in any half of football dating back to, I think, 1978, right? I mean, it was a stingy performance. It wasn't as stingy against Detroit, but they found their win condition. They found out, okay, what do we have to do to win this game? There was a couple drives I'm sure they wanted back against the Lions. That one where I think they got down in like 4 or 5 plays and basically drove the field in the second half.
Yeah.
But then they responded.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons finished strong. I mean, you have guys that have played and have so much experience. Offensively, it's been a work in progress a lot because of how the main skill position players they've had have been banged up, or in Tucker Kraft's case, out for the season. Defensively, that unit has been growing throughout the course of the year. I'm really excited to watch that chess match play out between Jeff Hafley and Ben Johnson. I think those are two of the brightest minds at their respective side of the football, and they're going to be throwing a lot of different stuff at each other. I think that game we see in 2 weeks at Soldier Field will probably be more of the traditional Packers-Bears football game. This one, to me, almost seems like a little bit of it's like a regular season opener in some ways. These teams have seen a lot of film of each other, but how's it all going to come together? Yeah,
I agree. This is the one, not so much the rematch in a couple weeks. This is the one where you might see the wrinkles and the surprises.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the one coming up in 2 weeks, it's going to be on a shorter week, less preparation and all that. And both teams obviously have a big game in between. Well, I mean, let's take a look at the standings and where things are. The Bears are 9-3. The Packers are 8-3-1. So if Chicago wins this game, the Bears are absolutely in the catbird seat in the division. They'll be sitting pretty with 4 games to go and in complete command. If the Packers win, the Packers will vault into first place in the division, and then it will be interesting to see Detroit coming off of the Thanksgiving loss. They are now 7-5 in third place, but still fighting and not out of this thing by any means. And they have a big game tonight, Wes.
Yes, they do.
Thursday night football against the Dallas Cowboys, 2 teams that played on Thanksgiving. Now they're playing the following Thursday, which is just what the Packers and Lions did last year as well. But a hot Dallas Cowboys team that had kind of been written off a few weeks ago when they were below 500 and everybody looked at their schedule saying, oh, they got to play the Eagles and then the Chiefs. And, well, look what they did in a span of 5 days. They beat both Super Bowl teams from a year ago. The Cowboys are suddenly 6-5-1. They're trying to chase down the Eagles, who have hit the skids a little bit. This Thursday night game is monster for 2 teams with 5 losses. Yeah. Yep. This is a big one that's going to have a lot of eyeballs on.
Well, it's because I think whoever wins is still very much in the thick of this thing, and whoever loses is now officially in that run the table. You got to just win it out to see if you have a chance at anything, right? Because again, I don't think you can sit here and confidently look at a 10-7 record going to get you into the playoffs right now.
Not in the NFC.
There's just too much divergence between the bottom half of the conference and then what's come up at the top, and then even amongst those teams at the top, how a lot of them have traded and shared victories and losses. Detroit, this is a pivotal game. There's no question about it, because this is the end of their home streak. They have 3 games at home here. You don't want to go 1-2 in those matchups, right? And then secondly, now you got the Los Angeles Rams waiting for you on the other side of this thing going out there. So if you look at how the season has played out, it looks like a Lions win. They've basically traded wins and losses here for the last 2.5 months. Yeah,
they haven't been a hot team all year, but they haven't been a struggling team all year either.
They got out to that little start of theirs. They lost to the Packers, but then won 4 of the first 5, and ever since then they've been going win-loss, win-loss. Yeah. So I think the challenge for Dallas is how far can you get with one of the league's most potent offenses that also is one of the biggest sieves defensively. Now, they've had some improvements here since Quentin Williams got in the show, but still a lot of yards that they're giving up.
Yeah, and that Lions offense, as we saw last week, I mean, they gave the Packers defense everything they could handle. That Detroit offense is dangerous. Detroit's issues have been on the defensive side of the ball, where they've had injuries, especially in the secondary, trying to piece things together, the slow down passing attacks. I mean, this Thursday night game could end up being quite the shootout at Ford Field. Yeah. Take a glance at the other games on Sunday. There isn't really, other than Packers-Bears, which is the game of the week for sure, there isn't much else all that interesting in the NFC.
AFC's great.
Because the playoff contenders in the NFC are all kind of heavily favored over teams that are below 500. I think the more interesting games are actually in the AFC when I look at the fact that Pittsburgh is at Baltimore and Houston is at Kansas City. The Chiefs are getting close to run the table time if they're even going to make the postseason here. And the Houston Texans have chased down the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, what were the Texans? They were 0-3 to start the year. Yeah. They've now chased down the Colts, and they're threatening, for the lead, along with the Jaguars, of course, too, in that AFC South. So those, both the AFC North and AFC South, there's some interesting matchups.
Yeah, and I mean, Indianapolis travels to Jacksonville this weekend too. So I mean, wow. I mean, how that situation has unfolded, where it looked like, okay, the Colts are just taking this thing, no question about it. And now they kind of got the field coming back up on their heels.
Yeah, not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corso would say.
Right. And then certainly you look at the Los Angeles Chargers, a huge game with implications on Monday Night Football against Philadelphia. Both of those teams sitting at 8-4, as you just talked about. The Eagles trying to pull themselves back into it. And then what do you make out of the AFC North right now? Aaron Rodgers, wrist injury, nose bleeding, 6-6 now. Steelers, 6-6 Ravens. Who wants that division? Who's going to take that division?
Yeah, and the Ravens just tripped all over themselves on Thanksgiving night against Cincinnati. So,
but Cincinnati's so different when Joe Burrow is back.
Well, and here's here's the thing. This is the crazy thing. The Cincinnati Bengals were 3-8. Mm-hmm. Now they have Joe Burrow back. They are 4-8. They play the Buffalo Bills this weekend. If you look at Cincinnati's schedule, if they can beat Buffalo this weekend, they could run it and get to 9-8 and potentially win the AFC North with a 9-8 record. If they lose to the Buffalo Bills, it makes it a lot harder for them. But their schedule after they play Buffalo with Joe Burrow back at quarterback, it lines up for them to run the table. The Cincinnati-Buffalo game on Sunday is an interesting one.
How funny is it too if they could? Let's say they run the table, but they don't make. If they end up 9-8 and miss the playoffs again, after this, right? Because they finished strong last year,
which is what they did last year. They were the team nobody wanted to play in the playoffs last year, and then they didn't quite get in.
Get to the playoffs,
right?
Hey, last thing I want to close on, because let's talk about really fast what really does matter in the NFC. Packers are looking for somebody to trip up this weekend.
Right.
Seattle is going to Atlanta. Nothing is going right for the Falcons right now. Can the Falcons have something go their way? The Buccaneers are in a position now that you have the Saints at home. The Saints are very wayward, but if you would fall there, you're now suddenly in a tie with the Carolina Panthers, who are on a bye this week. So, I mean, trying to keep pace there. Washington, Minnesota, both of those teams trying to make something of their season. And then certainly the LA Rams going to Arizona. Jacoby Brissett's playing really well. The Cardinals are not winning games.
Right.
What are you going to do against that defense? Out of all these little matchups, these little top contenders versus 3 to 4 win teams, if one of those could potentially trip up, would help Green Bay's efforts as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got all that laid out in Path to the Playoffs.
You do?
Which we posted on Packers.com on Wednesday. So if you haven't seen the launch of this year's Path to the Playoffs, it's out there. But yeah, I talk about all those games. But it is where the Packers in the scoreboard watching realm, you're really hoping for upsets in the NFC, because these other NFC contenders, other than the toss-up game, that we talked about Thursday night with Dallas and Detroit, the other NFC contenders are all in these games where they're heavily favored against teams that are below 500, and you're hoping for some upsets there. But the other thing, the San Francisco 49ers are sitting there at 9-4 on a bye week, and I'm going to give credit, and it'll be posted in tomorrow's Insider Inbox, and I can't remember who exactly sent it in, so I'm sorry to not give credit by name, but there is a scenario, depending on what happens in the NFC, that on their bye week, the San Francisco 49ers could jump from the 7 seed all the way to the 2 seed by not even playing if things fall a certain way with all these other games. That tells you how crazy this thing is right now and how much crazier it might get as we really hit the stretch run here.
We talk about it every year, but I think this is the perfect example of it. Just win and see where everybody, if you can just not blink and somebody else finally misses that musical chair when the music stops, where that could put you.
Right.
But you have to do it. But to Green Bay, this is the beautiful thing about where the Packers are at. Evan Williams talked about it after the game last week. It's just about controlling what you can control. You have the Chicago Bears twice in 13 days. There's a tough one in the middle there with Denver. You'll worry about that when it gets there.
Yeah.
But if you can take care of business against the Bears, it sets the table for you perfectly. But you have to be able to do it.
But you have to be able to do it against a team that is hot, that is riding high, and the NFL's oldest and best rivalry is front and center here in the month of December. With that, we'll call it a wrap on this edition of Packers Unscripted. Be sure to follow all of our coverage of the team and of Sunday's big game from Lambeau Field. We will have it all for you on Packers.com. For Wes, I'm Mike. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next time.